G'day, welcome back to the Author NZ YouTube channel. This video, as promised in my introduction, is going to be about the Smith & Wesson 22A. This is my one. We'll just clear it. Okay, so you don't need to see that, but it is clear. It's empty. There's a few things about these guns that there's a lot of myths. There's a lot of good reviews and bad reviews. I find it to be a really good gun. I love shooting it. It's a lot of fun. I want to talk about what I do with it, what happened to this one and how I fixed it. And I found there's a lot of good reviews and a lot of bad reviews. There's a lot of misinformation available. When I had problems with this, I got on the net and I tried to find out how to fix it, and I found that there are a lot of ideas, good and bad, but I did find what was wrong with it and probably the cause of the problem. One thing with rimfire guns, I believe they shouldn't be dry fired. I don't dry fire this. What I did learn was, from the cock position, the best thing to do is to slowly release the slide. Let it get to about there, and you can feel when the trigger will pull. If it doesn't work the first time, pull it back again, let it go again, and you can just feel it, and you can get it to release. It's not going to do it for me now. So you can release the slide, release the trigger without it actually dry firing, by just holding the slide back a little bit like that and pulling the trigger. I'm going to strip this down and dispel some myths, and I'm going to show you how I fix this one. Right, so hopefully that's a better camera angle and you can see what I'm doing here. Smith & Wesson, you're probably pretty familiar with them. Mag release is on the front of the grip, and we've already cleared this gun. We know that it's empty. I don't know whether you can see in there or not. Should be able to. I'll just try and demonstrate what I said earlier about releasing the slide. When you get to about there, you can feel that the trigger will pull, and you can let it go, and you can see that it jumps forward a bit, and that's the firing pin getting hit obviously by the striker. So you can actually pull the trigger, release the pressure without dry firing it. One of the myths I believe with the Smith & Wesson is they fly to bits when you pull them apart, and I don't find that to be the case. What I do to strip it is I just put my thumb on the slide, push the takedown button, pull the barrel off while holding that, let the slide go forward and pull it apart like that. I don't think there's any reason for the recoil spring, recoil pin or recoil buffer to go anywhere if you hold on to it. Now the big thing with the fail to fire on these is the feed ramp gets dirty, so that's got to be really clean. But whether or not you can see in here, you can see where this one has been dry fired. There's a little nick where the firing pins hit the face of the chamber. Now I've cleaned this one up quite a bit with just a little bit of wet and dry, but what happens when the firing pin hits there is it pushes material downwards and into the chamber, and what that does is stops the round fully chambering. So the 22 rimfire case is reliant on squashing the rim or crushing the rim. If it doesn't go perfectly home against the face of the chamber, when the firing pin hits it, the firing pin pushes it further in. Right, so all that energy is taken up by pushing the round into the chamber. So what you have to do is get a bit of wet and dry, or this is what I did. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but it's what I did and it worked for me. I just got a little needle file with a bit of wet and dry on it, and I just cleaned out the chamber just really carefully. You don't want to take anything out of it, but you just want to make sure that the chamber's round. Okay, so if you're having problems with failing to fire, that's probably what it is. One of the other things that I've learned is they've got to be clean. There's a lot of myths on cleaning 22 rimfire firearms. I find that this one's got to be really clean, and as you can probably see, it's quite wet. I just use CRC. I use Power Lube, which is very similar to 556. Once I've cleaned it, and I just clean it the normal way, just run through a pull through and scrub the barrel every now and then. But you got to make sure that ramp there, the feed ramp's really clean. Make sure the recoil rod is clean and the spring's clean. And where the slide moves against the rails here, make sure that's really clean. Once that is the case and you put it back together, I just like to give it a good spray with Power Lube, which is just CRC 556, and yeah, it functions fine. Like, I had a lot of problems with it misfiring or failing to fire, and I've discovered that when it did fail, I'd get a really good head stamp on the case, but it just wasn't firing it. And I think the case was the firing pin, and the firing pin assembly is in the slide here. It was hitting the round alright, but it just wasn't, the round wasn't crushed against the end of the chamber, so it made it very difficult or impossible for it to fire. So yeah, I think what you'll find is if you get a 22 rimfire case and drop it in there, if it's a bit tight to push in, it's probably not going to go home, just with the bolt sliding forward, So once you've cleaned it out, you should just be able to get around, and it should be able to just drop in there nicely. Alright. Once you can do that, once it'll go nicely in there, you'll find that every round will. They do get dirty, it's bulk ammunition that we use, and they're not that clean. Probably every 200 or 300 rounds you'll give it a pull through, clean the ramp, clean all around here. There's not really much to them. Make sure the slide can move freely on the rails, and make sure the pin and the spring are clean. This one is clean because I cleaned it after I used it last. You do have to put this in the right way around. There's a little bevel on the bottom of that you can see where when you put the slide back on, you can see where that bevel goes. So you want to be careful that goes in the right way around. It just goes in there like that. Lock the slide back, put your thumb on it, it won't go anywhere. Barrel on, once the barrel's in there, put a bit of pressure on it with your finger and clip it together like that. And that's it. It's clean and it'll function. And then I can release the trigger, release the striker, and release the firing pin without dry firing it against the face of the chamber. Right, so that's my tutorial on how to get your 22A functioning properly. Make sure it's clean and make sure it's wet when it's back together. Plenty of CRC on it. Make sure it can slide freely. Don't dry fire them. It's really bad for them, and you'll have a lot of fun with your one. When I upload this video onto YouTube, I'll put a link to the article that I found that helped me discover what was wrong with it, what the cause of the problems were. So I'll put that up there so that you can go and read it. If my video wasn't as clear as it could have been, you'll be able to go and read the article yourself. Right, so it's a great little gun, great little 22. I find it's a lot of fun, it's very accurate, it's reliable now that it's clean, now that it works properly. And yeah, thanks for watching my Author NZ video. Cheers.